All right. Thank you, Crimson. Welcome to the July meeting. Okay, I guess we'll hop right in. In terms of DevSync, what happened on my end was I found out that the indexing took longer than I thought on non-SSD machines, like multiple hours, like actually almost a day. So I figured it would be interesting to add a progress bar for it. So that's been done. It's in review and passes all the tests. Meanwhile, I found out that my feature request for adding additional virtual operations is now failing the test because some new test has been added, which compares all of the VOPs. And so since there is new VOPs, on the full replay, some of the indexes are shifted sideways. So I'm looking into this, but it's taking longer than I expected because a lot of pattern tests are failing. Apart from that, that's all of it for Hive. For HiveMind, same thing, basically working on the tests because for pretty much the same reasons, a bunch of the pattern tests are failing because I add new operations, and so that fails stuff here and there. So that's been working. I feel like I'm done with my performance tests, so that's been going good. And yeah, I think I'm going to shift my focus towards the shipping everything for the hard fork. And then as soon as I'm done with this, I'll give some more attention back to HiveMind.
What's the new operations in HiveMind?
New operations in the sense that I changed the mocking, but technically there is a set community type operation that I changed. It's an update in community which allows you to change the type, and types are what was initially envisioned, where basically you can have a community where people can only comment and post if they are members of the community.
Okay, so that sets the type. Is it actually would it implement? So if you did that, the community would have to be part of the community to post, or is it just okay? So that's actually done.
Yeah, it's done. It's just that because I changed a bunch of the mocks, the tests fell.
I get the testing part. So you're working on the testing part now. But I was just trying to see what the change was.
Yeah, the feature is done.
Okay.
It works by, I don't delete or refuse the post or anything. I just set them as muted so that they don't pop up. And worst case, if the community owner really wants to have that, they can display them.
They can unmute them, basically. Yeah. Okay. Sounds cool.
That's it for me, I think.
Okay. Let's see. So I guess my post has probably covered a lot of what we've done recently, but we got we've got the worker thread stuff working now and been benchmarking that over the weekend. We knocked another hour off sync time. So we're down to 18 hours for a full sync from block 0 now. And that's just with a typical regular node. I'm also running another benchmark now with the SQL serializer plugin also configured in the Hive node. I don't expect that to really change anything though, because the bottleneck all along has been the blockchain processing code that's done by the right queue thread. So since that thread, I don't think the SQL serializer is going to impact the time from that thread too much, but we'll see. Just checking to be sure. I did a full replay of the code, and it turns out I'd early thought we had an earlier measurement that it took 5 hours and 52 minutes, but my benchmark on what should have been a faster test still took 7 hours and 42 minutes. So I'm going to recheck that earlier benchmark that was done to see how we got to under 6 hours for that earlier one. So I'll report back in my post about whatever turns out there. We're working on basically the last major stuff inside Hive at this point, and we're basically scheduled to be finished this week. So kind of tight deadlines, but I think we're going to make it. One of the things we're doing is we're allowing nodes now to exchange blocks in compressed form. So previously, even though we compressed the block log, the blocks when they're exchanged between the nodes are still actually uncompressed. And so we've had to go in and basically plumb through the peer-to-peer layer to allow the new full blocks, which are sort of a wrapper object that contains block in many different forms, to be passed in the peer-to-peer layer, and that will allow us to for peers to then exchange blocks to compress to other peers that know how to decompress them. We'll still have to support uncompressed blocks for older peers who haven't yet upgraded to the new code. So we basically use like a protocol versioning communication between the peers. When they first talk to each other, they'll establish whether they know how to decode a decoded block, a compressed block or not, and what compression model they understand. So basically we can upgrade the compression in the future if we want to different or higher compression levels or different algorithms just by communicating with the other nodes to find out what they understand. And there's always the fallback if there's no communication compression algorithm common between them, they can just use an uncompressed block. But I don't expect this to really speed up so much anything per se, but what it'll do is reduce network traffic. So this is somewhat built for the future feature that we don't have to worry so much about congestion loading. If we get a huge amount of traffic in the future, this should reduce traffic by about 50, cut it in half basically. And it also will cut down on CPU time for nodes. They won't have to decompress blocks just to send them to other nodes. So that should also, one of the things we're kind of moving to the model. We want Hive nodes to be as light as possible. So not only do we want them to be fast, but we also don't want them doing unnecessary computation when possible. So we can run them on, super cheap nodes, super cheap servers and things like that. So that's I think that'll be finished in probably a day or two. Then we got probably another day for finishing up OB. One other project's going on, Bartek's working on right now, which is saving off block hashes along with the block index. That'll speed up. That'll also offer some speed ups too, especially when we're syncing, because when we sync, nodes need to get a bunch of block IDs from other peers, and right now those block IDs have to be computed at runtime. So again, another CPU hog on our nodes that we really just have no need for, because we could just cache those block hashes permanently, and that'll have other benefits too. It'll also speed up the get block API as well. We're looking at one other thing, which is adding basically support for the get block API to the account history, the half account history API node, because that's the get block API is probably one of the remaining heavy computational loads on Hive nodes. And by shifting that off to half database, that'll dramatically lower just how much a Hive node has to do. I think it'll be the biggest thing in terms of finally reducing what an API node has to handle. So, and that's looking pretty smooth and pretty simple. There won't, I think basically I've sort of settled on half of being the application that doesn't need to do anything basically except respond to requests. It doesn't need to sync up. So that's why I've decided to throw the get block API into Hafa, even though it's already an account history node. It kind of makes sense to also allow it to be the get block API app as well, because neither one require extra history beyond what Half automatically generates. So there's no replay required for a Hafa app on a Half server. Let's see what else is going on. We did get a bug report I guess this weekend on production server related to commenting, basically making a post with the beneficiary, and we looked into that, and we've able to duplicate the problem now, and it looks, we don't know for sure what the cause is, but we think it's probably related to the new serialization of assets, if we had to make a guess right now. And but this will probably be fixed in another day or two, so we can dupe it. And it did allow us to find that we didn't have any tests in the CLI wallet for posting, because I guess the CLI wallet can't make posts. So since that's kind of been the generic testing environment, I think we're going to probably add the ability, doesn't need to be before the hard fork, but we'll probably add the ability for the CLI wallet to also basically create simple posts. That way we could use it for testing of that feature. There's more going on, but that's probably enough talking right now. I'll leave somebody else to say what they've been working on.
Okay, thank you. I'm surprised the CLI doesn't allow you to post though, because
I was a little surprised too. I kind of thought.
Oh, maybe it allows you to comment but not post, but then it's the same op. So
I don't know. Maybe Bartek can join.
Yes. CLI wallet can generate post operation, but it can generate command options operation.
The beneficiary, yeah, they can't do the
beneficiaries.
beneficiaries.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, makes sense.
And here is the functionality hole which prevented from testing this feature earlier because our regression tests related to generating transactions were specific to using CLI wallet as some reference tool for whole features.
Right. So we could post, but we didn't set a common option, so we never.
Yes, exactly. And after that issue, we will probably create a regression test which will generate transaction for every operation supported by blockchain and just pass it into broadcast API to see if this path of execution also works well.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, great.
Also, I have one remark related to a new BlockLock index work. Unfortunately, how your merge request related to presenting progress bar or actually percentage of progress will be obsolete here, but definitely I will add such messaging into new implementation. So we will have displayed how much current block and how much blocks is still needed to be processed to finish its execution.
Okay. Well, that's a bummer, but as long as it's
that's
the
just
feature.
What happened was I think we just had changed the implementations.
Yeah, I mean.
Yes, I actually decided to rename this file to BlockLock artifacts because there is not only index holding offset, but also some additional informations like status of block, like it is compressed or not, and BlockLock hashes. And this way we will have it open for some other informations to be stored in the future.
Yeah, so, awesome. Well, okay. I mean, as long as the information is there, that's totally good. So that's good news. Anyone wants to share their progress? Imwasi, maybe?
Sorry.
I've been working on versions 2 of both plug and play and GNS, and that involved having to rework all of the synchronization functions. All of the sync related code is now being moved to Postgres. I believe that's making it more stable because previously it was using a combination of Python and Postgres, and it was having issues when either a long-running query took time or those problems with the connection. So I'm just doing final tests on both plug and play and GNS, and yeah, I think in a few days I should have a production ready release, and then after that I'll start adding features. On GNS I'll be adding new notification types, and on plug and play I'll be adding other features like pod pings endpoints.
I was going to say one other thing you might want to look at is you might want to look at I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it yet, but how we use the JMeter for doing tests. So basically I think you can look at probably half as a good example, and it has JMeter tests there that you might want to use just for doing some performance checking on your API calls.
Okay, yeah, I'll definitely look into that. Thanks. Yeah, just something of not really core related, but I just finished setting up an umbrella organization. And the point of that is to kind of like house everything that I'm working on Hive. And so, well, the team has now grown a bit. It's myself as the lead developer. There's Lady Mwatsi, who's a COO and marketing specialist. Got 2 full stack developers also. and one UI UX designer. So one of the major stuff that we're working on there is a social dapp, which will be on Hive and using Hive extensively.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's about it from my side. I think I'll make a post in the next few days about that.
Neat. That's pretty cool. Okay, anything for anything else in regards to syncs and updates? I'll take that as a no. Okay, so onto the actual points. I have a bunch. We don't have to go through all of them. But yeah, so Blockchains, you mentioned that we are quite close to finishing everything. And we are still targeting for end of July. So when would we code freeze? Because I'm assuming that would be next week.
I'm hoping next week, but you know, it's not, I'm not certain on that yet, but that's
okay.
my hope.
Okay, so that means okay, I'll scramble to get my my thing fixed, the test fixed for the additional VOps by then. Worst case, this VOps, so it doesn't need a hard fork or anything, so we can ship it afterwards. And just
yeah, but even VOps are a pain because they'll require replays.
Yeah, but yeah. I mean, but those who want us can replay, and those who don't care don't need to. But still, so okay, I'll do my best to ship it. I believe it's mostly just it's mostly a matter of replaying a node and then running the script to update all of the pattern as once. I think that's a thing, and I'll push that so that bot I can.
So are these just like extra accounting VOps, or which? Yeah. I can't remember which ones. Okay,
it's one VOP when you miss a block, which makes it much easier for all of the scripts, like the washer scripts out there. Because right now they kind of have to. I believe the way they work is like they listen in every block to see if either there is a time gap between the blocks, or they look at like all of the missed block counts, and if one of the witnesses steals as a missed block go by one, then they're like, this witness missed a block, which is not ideal. And like a missed block would allow you also all sort of more accounting stuff. So that's one, and the other one is when you do a transfer to the DHF, like Hive, it gets transformed into HBD, but we don't have the
for that.
Yeah,
show it. Yeah. Okay.
I think we show it, but we don't show the value, the HBD to Hive ratio at that point, which
I see
is not good for a bunch of reasons. So yeah, these two the code is very simple. It's really just a matter of getting the test to, I mean, the new pattern to match them, which is kind of cool though, because you can literally see the new ops being in the patterns, so you see that it works.
Cool.
Okay, so by next week, that sounds good to me. Has there been any work on getting HiveMind on Hive, or is that on hold until we?
Oh yeah, that's very much in progress. There's one guy devoted to that, and also Bartek steps in occasionally to help as well. So and we've been running benchmarks throughout. I mean, it's planned part of the release.
Okay. Cool. Release as in 26.
As in, you know, I want to have it next week.
Oh, okay. Oh, cool.
Can't promise, but that's my plan.
Okay. Very cool. Okay, neat. Then yeah, there was a bunch of questions that I asked the community. Most of them can be sorted offline because they're either not dev questions, or there are more like general questions, or thoughts on stuff which doesn't really need to be discussed here. But I encourage you guys to go to the post and read through and respond. I know Gandalf has gone and responded to a few. I have yet to reply to some of them, but I'll do it afterwards, I think. But yeah, two of those that were asked is basically the internal market kind of is lacking some liquidity, and so I heard a bunch of times that people wanted to add liquidity pools. The main question is if it's feasible, should we do it in L1 or L2? I think it could be a very good usage for Hive, actually, as soon as we implement the smart contracts, but that may take quite a while. But on the other hand, if we do it L1, it's basically in a year for the next hard fork. So
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely our next. That's the next thing we're taking on for sure. Is the smart contract platform. That's our major plan. So we haven't scoped it yet, but
Do you have
that'll be where a lot of our focus is at.
extremely rough ideas of how long it'll take?
I will once we scope it.
Okay.
Because it's, scoping is determining what you're going to do, right? So
yeah.
once you know exactly how much we're going to do in our first bite at the apple, then we can say how long it's going to take.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that answers
guess
a bunch of the questions. Then one person asked if we should exclude the HVD in the DHF from the virtual supply. I can see the use for it, but similarly to how we removed it from. Wait, didn't we do that already?
Well, they want it from it's done from the debt. The debt ratio doesn't account for it, but I guess they think he's saying, I think this is Dahl's. If I understood him correctly, he's saying it's still counting towards virtual supply. But I don't know whether that's true or not, but I assumed he had calculated and determined it was. So, I mean, you did as I recall, you did the debt ratio, or was it ABW? I can't remember which one. Okay.
No, I did the debt ratio.
So you did, do you remember if it's still, so there's a virtual supply that also gets calculated. Do you know if you did that one or not?
I am low-key. I think I may have done it as well.
Well, anyways, it's something to double check.
Yeah, okay. I'll double check afterwards. Yeah, pretty much everything I wanted to bring up. Do you guys have anything else?
Not me.
You mentioned the internal market, and I remember a conversation on Metromost the other day about API endpoints for CoinGecko. I just wanted to check if you guys plan on working on something, or if you think.
No, I was hoping somebody else was going to take that. Originally, I think Disregard Fiat was going to do it, and then I think you suggested taking it. I'm great. I think that's awesome.
Okay, yeah, I think I can work on that after I release the version 2s of Plug and Play and GNS. Looked at the endpoints, and documentation looks quite straightforward. We have to keep a 24-hour data set, and yeah, we've got all the operations on Hive. So I think it's feasible.
That sounds good.
That would be the first external.
And that'll really help, I think, with people that don't understand that HBD is actually quite stable, because they keep seeing prices from the least, not always the most heavy. They don't see the internal market, which has got the most lost to the true stability, true liquidity.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's gonna be awesome. Okay, I guess we'll pick up on that next month. Okay, anything else?
Nope, not for me.
All right, well, thank you all, and see you on the chain.
Okay, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.